to the webcam mic, so hopefully this is okay. All right, I think my headset died. Okay, here we go. So got a presentation here for you, and Nance, I believe, sent out a introduction to me and our business and what we do. But just a little bit of a background. I started about 12 years ago in Seattle, and then I'm from Atchison, so decided, well, I can do this anywhere, so let's move back home. Moved back home and really didn't do a whole lot locally with local businesses for quite a while, till maybe about 4 years ago. Just kind of worked out in Kansas City and St. Joe, and did a lot of regional things and a few national clients. And then they caught wind of what I did, and so just started helping. And 2 years ago, there was a need locally for cataloging what we've got available as resources in the community. And so we put together a website and just did that just because it needed done. And one thing led to another, and we've got quite a system going now for collaborative community marketing. So that's where my background is. But in doing that over the past couple of years, we've met a lot of individual businesses and worked with them at various stages of marketing maturity, and also community developers and chamber organizations, economic developers, economic leaders. So it's been a really interesting journey to see the need out there and how few people are actually trying to fill that need. I think a lot of professional marketers, they go where the money is, and it's East Coast, West Coast, and big cities. And so it's hard for them to feel fulfilled when the dollars are so low in the small and hometown communities. So really you have to have someone that really loves what we're doing. I know that everybody on this call obviously has a passion for Kansas and for our hometown communities, and I think that better marketing really is the key to helping them grow and mature. So hopefully you can see this presentation. Is it good? Okay, great. All right, so the two things I want to talk about, number one is the two sections. The first one would be the info, I guess, behind digital marketing period. You'd be surprised how many businesses we come in contact with who don't even market at all, let alone digital marketing, and they don't really understand the concept of why they need to. So sometimes you have to start back at that aspect, and then get to the point of choosing their marketing mix and why digital makes sense for that. And then the second half, talk about the experiences we've had, and we've been able to distill that down into about 5 different marketing mindsets that we find when we meet businesses that they have, and usually they all fit one of those 5, and so of those 5 you can usually work with them in some kind of way to help them do better. And then there's 3 ways that you can support those 5, 3 different types of strategies. And I've found that lunch and learns don't work if you don't do this certain thing. And then, of course, throwing in some of the top marketing tactics that we found that the small businesses tend to gravitate to, because either they're cheap or they're easy to understand or they're comfortable with them. Even though as a marketer it might not be what I would want them to do, you can't just go by the book and say this is what you should do. You have to go by what our area is ready to do. And that's another thing. It's really hard to find information on marketing to rural America and to our hometown communities. If you do a Google search for anything like that, there's just very little data that's out there to help understand this maturity process. So that's another thing we're trying to crack. Okay, so the first thing, zero-cost marketing, I think that's a little bit misleading in a way, but that's really what we try to help people understand, is that Peter Drucker, the father of modern management, of course, my favorite quote of his, that the purpose of the business is to create a customer, number one. Of course, you always love businesses that do good for the community and things like that, but really it's to create a customer, support that customer. And then in that enterprise, there's 2 basic functions, marketing and innovation. The innovation, I feel like, is really covered well. A lot of entrepreneurial support groups and like the NEKF, that board that Teresa McInerney's on, where there's just a lot of resources on the entrepreneurial side. But when it comes to the marketing side and saying, okay, you've got this great idea, you've got this, innovation, now let's get it to the people that need it. There's not a whole lot of resources as far as, I mean, in the small circle that we have here, probably in maybe an hour or two radius, there's just not a whole lot. So anyways, helping them understand that of all the things that they spend their money on in the business, marketing and innovation are going to get them results. They're going to move forward in their business. Everything else they spend their money on is just a cost. It's not actually moving their business forward. So helping them understand that they have to budget to grow. So then the first question is that people always want to know is, how much should a business budget for marketing? And there's a very easy answer. The Small Business Administration says 7 to 8% of gross annual revenue. That's a base, and that's if you're making, I think, less than 10 million, which I think probably most of these businesses we're talking about do. And honestly, when you say 7 to 8% of their annual revenue, they get wide-eyed and think, how can I do that? But if you sit down with them and you say, look, do you want to grow next year? Do you want to grow 10%? Okay, you made $1,000 this year, so you're going to make 10% more. You need to spend 7%, so you're going to get 3%, of that in profit. And so if they think of it that way, that they're going to grow 10%, but 7% of that can be that growth, and it kind of helps them understand that they're investing it to grow. So then the challenge is, once they understand that it is an investment, it's not a cost that's just a line item that comes off, I mean, it is an expense, but it grows their business. It's helping them figure out where to spend that marketing dollars, those marketing dollars. So that brings to the topic of reasons for digital marketing. And the digital marketing kind of goes along with really all marketing. A lot of these businesses said, I just had a note that said my internet quality is low. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So a lot of the businesses, they've been there for a while. They might be mid or at the end of their cycle, and so they really feel like everybody knows what they do, they know they're there, and you'd be so surprised when we ask the question, how do people that don't know you're here find out that you're here? What if they're new to the community? And this question here, or this statement, the next generation is never the same as the one you're in now. And so those business owners, they don't understand these selfie-taken teenagers or this millennial age that is so huge. And so it's comfortable for them to just do what they're doing, not realizing they have to move forward in order for our communities to survive. So people die and babies are born. That's why we have to continue marketing. And with digital marketing, we have to do it for the generation that's coming up, and that is digital. So that question that we asked them, how do new people in the community learn about you? If they don't know, if all you have is a logo out there somewhere, how do they know what that logo means? How do they know what data processor, and if that's just the name on the side of a building? They have no idea what that means. And you're going to make it very difficult for them to figure out what that is without good marketing. Another thing, how do people interested in visiting or living in the community find out about it? So the businesses themselves, of course, they have to market, but then that leads into the whole of the community of helping people understand what they can find if they were to move or visit there. And the last one, how do you build customer loyalty? If you ask some of these businesses that, they don't have an answer for that. They just kind of hope. And what the key here is that the generation coming in, they are a completely different beast than the baby boomers and the ones that some of our businesses are used to. And they don't just give automatic loyalty because you're a local business. They have to choose that. They have to choose you for a reason. And it makes it a little harder, but it's once you establish that experience and that relationship, they're going to be very loyal. So not just the young people, though, are really the digital customers. 87% of the U.S. adults are online, and the amount of people that are not online has really decreased. I think it was down to under 15% last year. It's probably down closer to 10 by the end of this year. And then if you consider that over 80% of people talk to family and friends before making a decision, so it's very, very likely that an offline customer has talked to an online user. So even those that, 15% of people that aren't connected, they're talking to people and they're finding out how they feel. So you have to be online because the majority of people are going to go look online. I think it takes 7 different touches, 6 to 7 touches now for someone to make a purchasing decision. And many of those touches happen in a digital realm now. It's not just young people. The generational differences are narrowing. They've done some research, and the people over the age of 55, they're frustrated because they feel like everybody's focusing on the millennials and the Generation Z and Y, and they're online a lot. I think the 55 to 65 age group has increased a lot over the past, I think it's like 3 years. It's equal to, I can't remember which one of the other ones it is. I don't have that on here, but they're very much online and a little frustrated that they don't have stuff for them. 78% of small town America is online. So just like, of course, we'd always expect the urban and the suburbans to be up there. Rural too has grown quite a bit and continues to grow. And in a way, I would almost see it actually overtaking growth percentages from the urban and suburban, because pretty much, everybody's connected, but with your rural areas, they rely on that to actually feel connected to the world. And so it's almost more important when you're in a rural area to, when it's so far in between communities and cities, it's really made the world tighter and closer and better relationships, honestly. The majority of rural users are on social media. So 67% of rural internet users are on Facebook. And we definitely see that. That is the #1 marketing tool for this area. It would be Facebook. Twitter is actually pretty close too for your ag industries. So the impact of the online technologies in rural areas is that the world is within reach. This slide came from a presentation I did with Rainbow Communications on customer journey mapping, and talking about that our customers have really changed how they find us, how they experience that customer relationship. And the digital journey is a big part of that. And it's been a frustration for a lot of, especially retail businesses, to see Amazon and all of these online retailers take away so much of the economic good in the community. But there's a video that I showed with this, that it was this real small town that the amount of packages that come into that town from Amazon was just insane. The poor post office guy who drives around all the packages, he says it takes him just forever to get away the packages, but it's completely changed the community. And in a way, it's actually helped growth because people are more comfortable living in these rural areas and these areas like Holton, like I was just talking about, how it feels so far out there, but yet you get there, okay, I've got internet, I've got cell signal, I can live here in this really small community and still feel almost a little urban, that I have access to everything that I need. And my daughters, they always have all these different kinds of makeup that they want and just everything, and they have discovered Amazon, and I don't have to take them to the store, and it's great. So you're able to have a life but still have that hometown community. So having our communities restructure their retail experiences to be more experiences and less just that convenient shopping, and let the internet be what they're good at, not fight it, might be a good strategy. But that's kind of a side point there. Okay, so moving on. I think we talked a little bit about millennials, and you probably hear it talked about a lot if you do any kind of reading or research about generational marketing and reaching the people around us. Millennials are the largest generation in the US now, and they are actually will have the largest purchasing power within, I think, another 5-7 years. Right now, they're ages 17 to 34, and that is a significant number, that 34. In the next slide, I talk about. So millennials are, there's a ton of research about them. A lot of, you can read about their customer personas and kind of learn what it is that they're looking for, how they think. But number one is that they are social. They're very, very social, and it's about what other people are saying, and they need to make their own choices. They hate push marketing. They hate being told what to think and what to choose. In fact, if their mom and dad did it that way, they're probably going to find another way to do it or another place to shop. So just take that into consideration. So then the question is why, if they're just 17 to 34, that's not really my target market. They don't really have a huge amount of buying power yet. They're just still out of college and starting their families. Why do we need to worry about that? And that kind of comes into my next slide. So the brain gain phenomenon, I don't know if you have ever heard brain drain. And that's where you've got young people that grow up in your community. You spend all your time and money and community efforts and schooling and supporting them and rooting them on as they grow, and then they leave and they go to college and then they leave your community. It just feels drained, and then all you have left are the older people that have lived there all their lives, and it just feels a little empty. And there's some research done. There has been some in the University of Minnesota and in Nebraska, and they're actually finding that there is a demographic that they're actually migrating from urban areas to rural areas. And the age that they're doing that is between age 30 and 50. And if you think about it, that's the age where they're done exploring, they're done, or hope they might be, and they're thinking, okay, I want to settle down, I want to raise my family. Where do I want to do that? And some of them actually in the study, they are not from these hometown style communities, but they read about this traditional lifestyle, and especially these millennials that they value walking. Millennials, a lot of them don't have televisions because they do everything on their screens. They're very low materialism. They're just, they want to experience life. And so the idea of having this hometown that you can walk and have neighbors and everything's close, and you have a little corner grocery store and things like that, very appealing. That European bicycle lifestyle is very appealing to the millennials. So if you look at that 30 to 50 is when they're going to start looking for this type of communities, and the millennials are now in that mid 30 range and moving forward into that. They are the ones that are looking for these hometown style communities. And also in the study, it said what these people are looking for, and it's that type of community. And we have those in abundance in Kansas. So the key is helping those people find those communities and helping your community stand out for whatever it is that makes it feel like home. And so that brings me to this next part of this brain gain research that we did. How do you get them to choose your town? There's a big Night Gallup study that was, I think, in 2010, and they did a study on resident attachment. And with resident attachment, it's an actual feeling of the perfect place to be. So the place that you are, you don't really want to leave because there's reasons for that. And there's actually drivers that they studied that these top drivers created a sense of resident attachment. They also found that the higher the resident attachment was for the community, the stronger the economic growth was. So developing that sense of resident attachment grows your communities, plus attracts people to that. In Atchison, we've had a big movement. The organization is called Project Atchison, and it's a lot of younger people, millennials, mid-30s, and really just all about going out into the community and just serving and planting flowers and cleaning up parks and just doing everything we can to make Atchison an amazing place. In a very much a non-organizational, we just want to serve something bigger than ourselves type of way. And it's gotten a lot of interest, and there's actually been people move to Atchison because they've heard about this movement of doing good and positivity. And of course, it's not perfect, and we have little disagreements and things like that, but as a community, we're getting known for that. I did a blog post on it, I don't know, sometime last year, and it got shared on an economic development forum. And down in Texas, a friend of mine was on that forum, and they were like, oh, we read about Atchison today and about what's going on there. It sounds like a really cool place. I mean, talking about economic development and thinking about doing stuff here, just because getting on the map of something that it's attractive to people to be a part of something like that. So the 3 drivers that increase resident attachment, number 1 is openness. And that openness is a sense that when you move into a community that you're welcome. I don't know who I was talking to the other day, but the welcome wagon idea, that there's a group that welcomes someone into the community, and here's your welcome package, and here's the places you connect with, here's the churches, here's the support groups, here's all these people. Oh, this is your age group? Okay, here's some things for you to do. I don't really know of anything around maybe an hour radius that they do that. Sometimes there's a monetary reason, that maybe there's a packet they get, a realtor does it, or something like that. But as a community of saying, look, we need to be open and welcoming to new people to our community, especially with our small communities where if you're a local, then you're in the group, and if you're not, it takes 30 years to be a local, or something like that. So that's something that you can work on. And then the second 2 are social offerings, meaning that people feel like there's things they can connect with and be a part of without a huge effort, that there's things they can do. And the third one is aesthetics, that there's something beautiful. There's a beautiful park, or there's mountains, or there's a beautiful wheat field, or something that you can take pictures of. We've got, I don't know that it was intended, but we've got the bridge here in Atchison that they put these gorgeous lights on that they can, you probably saw the picture of the patriotic bridge, and it's really neat to be able to be proud of that and say that that's our town. So really, for the brain game is just to remember that they're looking for you, and you have to be able to be found. So that research, I kind of did that about maybe 1.5 years ago. I was working with the Glacial Hills Resource Development Center, and we were talking about how to get people, bringing them back, and what we can do to market to people that have left. And so that's where that research came from. But then earlier this year, I was like, you know what, I'm going to play around with Google surveys. I don't know if you guys have ever done anything with that, but a lot of times when we do a survey, like through SurveyMonkey or things like that, you have to actually have your list of people to send it to, or some kind of a circle, whether you're on Facebook or somehow you're sending it out to your group of people. So sometimes it's hard to get a good sampling that's valid across who you're trying to survey. So with Google Surveys, you can put in a region of the United States, and you can put in an age. You can put in a few pre-questions that they have to answer in order to answer the actual question you want. So for this survey, I did it for the Midwest area, ages 35 to 55, and they had to answer the question, have you moved to a city of less than 20,000 before? And if they said yes, then I wanted to know what was the reason that they moved. And this was just on 100 respondents, because you do have to pay, and this was just for my own kind of curiosity. But I was very interested, and I just came up with these questions over maybe the course of, I don't know, maybe we sat there and brainstormed for about an hour. And of course, my reason is not listed got the most, because I'm sure there's a lot of things I couldn't think of. But I really thought that to be near family or for my spouse's job would be the number one. And to realize that on just this little one that we put together, that the classic hometown community was the biggest response, other than that reason isn't listed, was really neat. Okay, so on into the experience that we've had. So all of this information is just kind of supports the passion and the need that I see being in marketing, and the power of digital marketing that I know is there, and I want to take that to our communities and to our small businesses. As we do that, we have met different types of businesses and kind of categorize them so that when we meet these businesses, we're like, okay, this is what this one's like, and here's how we can help them. We'd started out with kind of doing a marketing maturity assessment where we could kind of ask questions and see what they've done and kind of give them a grade. But we realized what happens is that they don't, yes, you could have a certain type of maturity. Okay, you have a Facebook page, you have a website, you have business cards or whatever it is. But really that's just assets. It doesn't mean that they are using them well or effectively or they even care. So really it came down to types. So kind of like personality types, like your MBTI. I know Michaela, she's on the call, she's really into that, but of understanding the type of business that the marketing mindset that they're in. So here's the 5 that we have come up with so far. So number 1 would be the starter. And I think this is probably top of mind for a lot of us, these businesses that they may not be a startup, but they're starting in marketing. They haven't done it. They want to do it. They want to either grow their business, but they don't either have the knowledge or the budget, or sadly, they probably don't have both. So that's where we have to come in and say, okay, you have $100. How can we take that $100 and grow it for you? So they're the starter, and they're fun. They're fun to work with. Secondly, we find that there's the sponsor. So they don't really want to grow. Maybe they're an accountant and they've just got plenty of customers and plenty of clients, and they're happy. But they do want to support community programs to help growth. So we find this a lot, that it's funny because we'll talk to them about what they get out of the program. Oh, you'll get all this traffic, or you'll get this or this, and yeah, they don't need it. But then as soon as we say, and by doing this, you're supporting these other small businesses, that they're like, okay, you want to do it? Absolutely. And they're just there to support the community. So they're angels. Number 3, the show off. Okay, so these are the ones that they've made it. A lot of them are ones that started the business and grew it up there, and they've worked hard at it. And I say show off in a nice kind of way, but they've done well and they want to showcase it. They might not even need to market. Maybe their audience is regional, it's not even local, but they want their logo on things and they want to let people know that, you know what, you can do it too. I did it, you can do it too. So number 4 is the dream business. They're sophisticated. They have a marketing budget. They might have a marketing person on staff. They're always looking for effective channels. They're ready to sponsor, because sponsorship is a form of marketing. And so you come to them with either a program or a local marketing opportunity, and they're absolutely for it, especially if it's reasonable, but it has to be effective. They don't want to waste their money on things that don't work. So they might not even choose to have a radio ad or a newspaper ad because, they're sophisticated and they kind of see the results of that. And so, yeah. And the last one we call the Scrooge. They're the takers. They're in the community. They've had success. The community has supported them, but they really don't have any need or want to market, and they really have no interest in giving back. And we have not come across very many, just a handful, but there's definitely some out there, and you can't worry about them. You can't let them affect you too much, but there's some Scrooges out there. So for those 5 types, we developed these different types of support strategies for them. So a professional strategy, professional marketing support strategy, this is probably where we do a lot of work, I guess you could say, outside of community development, but sometimes we'll meet one of these companies who are sophisticated, or they're ready to market, and they want more. They want more than this local community program, and so we'll work with them on a larger scale. But really, they're looking, these kind of businesses, they have the largest impact on the community, meaning that they have dollars to spend, and so they do, and so you're going to see them the most in your community. Whether that is a good thing or not, that's just how it is. They have the largest impact for your community. So they're going to be kind of those leaders and shapers of what your community looks like. they need proof. They're not just want to say, oh yeah, that's a good idea. They've done a little bit before. They want to know what it is they're getting, what the results are going to be, why it's a good ROI on their money. And they don't want to do it themselves. They want it to be managed. They want to say, yep, that sounds good, go do it. Sometimes it's, you don't even talk to the business owner. They have a staff that handles that for them. And they're very results driven. So they want that report. And this is where digital really steps over analog marketing, because of the fact that in the professional realm, you really want to make sure that the dollars that you're spending is in the right way. And so those reports are really, really important. The second way, and this is probably where all of you as community developers and economic developers probably spend a lot of time thinking about, is this educational support strategy. And that's the one that I'm actually the most passionate about. And we were just talking about it yesterday, that, you know, the big boys, the professionals, that's where the money is. But it's just so rewarding to work with the starters and the ones that just have the stars in their eyes, and they just have so much in front of them, and it's transformative to them. It's life-changing. You're literally changing their lives, their families' lives, their employees' lives, and their whole community's lives. And so I find that's very, very rewarding for myself. It also can be frustrating because you want to help them so much, but there's only so much you can do, and there's only so fast they can grow with their doing it themselves or with bootstrapping everything. So it's also the most time consuming. And so that's where we have developed some of the programs we have, because of how time consuming it is. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And the last one would be minimal. And just because we've got Scrooges out there who are kind of negative and are like, we don't care, we don't even, you know, they're part of the community. And as community developers, we have to kind of make sure that they're not having any kind of a negative effect. So if you've got a business listing, and you know, you don't want to avoid those ones, especially if they have a significant business. So it just means that you're going to have to get volunteer effort to maybe write up a little description and just have them say, hey, can we put if you do it for free, usually the Scroogers are like, sure, whatever you want to do. You know, they're not against you promoting them. They just don't want to pay for it or really care about it. So it's okay to have put a little bit of effort into them, especially if there's something that really affects your community, but don't expect a whole lot out of them. So with these three strategies, the dollar is really, like I was saying earlier, the professional market, they really have the money and they're happy to spend it if it's something that is effective. And then the starters, they don't have so much money. And so sometimes, you know, that can kind of work out well if you do collaborative marketing, where you're kind of doing a program where it all supports itself. And then the key is to not spend too much on the Scrooges, otherwise you just won't have enough to go around. So that brings me to my next point here, about collaboration. So one of the things we found as we've worked with these small businesses is that $100 is a lot of money to these businesses. But when you're in marketing, $100 is just a drop in the bucket. And so you have to figure out a way to take that $100 and really actually make it work. And I just can't, it keeps me up at night to think, okay, this $100 really hurt this business and they didn't get anything direct out of it. And so with collaboration and collaborative marketing, 10 businesses could put $10 in a collaborative topical campaign and receive even a shared benefit, and it actually is working better than them taking that $100 and doing it themselves. Because a couple different reasons, but so with the shared resources and rewards, that works. But the topical campaigns, that's where I was going. So when one business tries to go out and market themselves, it's time consuming, it's difficult, it's challenging, they have to do a lot of education and finding resources to do that. And when every single business in your community has to do that, it's exhausting for yourself to try to go and educate and support and, to do that. And so, and a lot of times it doesn't happen. And sometimes you have really great businesses in your community that people don't know about because they just don't have the time to do it. So when you have a topical campaign, such as we have a lot of vintage and resale stores in Atchison. And so if we were to do a common, vintage shop or bargain shop in Atchison, here's all your places to shop at. Oh, while you're here, here's the places to eat. And if you want to do it overnight, here's some great bread and breakfasts, so make it a destination. Or maybe it's the 4th of July and you want to help your community to know where all maybe your region, where's all of the 4th of July celebrations? How many could you hit in a day? Just all these kind of things that you're drawing attention to different things in your region, in your area. So we've had quite a bit of success with this, even if it's just posting a link to the category page for all of the places to eat in town. We had actually a huge response on that one. A lot of times we'll do event guides for, I know we've got the Millie Earhart Festival every year, and we do an event guide that's like a play-by-play that they can go and see everything throughout the weekend, what's going on. But the key is to not just think about that event, but think about how many businesses can we affect with that? How many businesses can we share that love with? So you put your event on there as like your carrot, but really what you're trying to do is take that traffic and pull it into the businesses. So here's where to shop. I know it's hot in July, so get in some air conditioning and go shop at Tayson's or go eat here or different things like that. Another thing that the collaborative marketing is really good for is community branding. And I know that this topic is kind of waned a little bit, and there's question about should we actually brand a community with a tagline or with something that we want to be known for. Yes, there's some strength in that, but there's some weaknesses as well, because if you don't all follow that, and how hard is it for a community to all do the same thing? It's pretty hard. It's kind of weak if you can't do that. And then also, as communities change and develop, you don't want a brand that has to continually change over 3 to 5 years. And so it's better to have something that is a short-term thing that kind of those, like, what goes viral today, like the giraffe that was having a baby, or the eagles that were hatching, that was just, oh my gosh, everywhere. And, it's done. But it was huge, and it drew attention. And I can't believe it was on a real estate person's website. I can't even imagine the business he has from that. But that kind of thing where you're just constantly getting in front of people. So you're basically branding yourselves as being the place to be, being the perfect place to be according to what you have in your community. Maybe you have a big lake and there's a lot of activities that you do around the lake, and you can do topical campaigns around that, and you really put that in people's mind that you have that beautiful place there. So the last part here, bring the buses. And I put this in here. We had for a long time a store in Atchison called Nell Hills, and it was very famous. She grew up here and made a huge success of it. And I've got some blinking here going on. And she made a huge success of it. And then it kind of changed and went on into Kansas City, and there was a lot of grumpiness over, we used to have buses coming and they come to Nell Hills and now they don't come anymore. Well, it's very, very, very hard to have a unicorn like that is so successful that buses of people come in to do that. I mean, it just doesn't happen. And so what you have to do is to collaboratively say, let's have a ladies shopping trip, and maybe you do it with several different communities, and you say, and you bring the buses by doing it together, because it's pretty hard for people to travel for just one place now. So my last part here, can get here. So for the lunch and learn, so things that we found is that businesses are overwhelmed. They are so tired of hearing all the things they need to do, and they want to do them, but they don't know how. So we started here the first of the year in January. We started brown bag marketing exchanges that people can come to twice a month, the second and fourth Mondays of the month, and it's interactive. They bring their own laptop. It's free form. We do consulting and conversing and just whatever it is that they're working on. And we've worked through ads together. We've worked through Facebook settings on their pages and email ideas and just different things like that. And they actually walk away thinking, oh, I did something. I'm moving forward. And it's not costing them anything. And it's an hour of time for the marketing professionals twice a month if they can make it. And it's been working really, really well. And I kind of modeled it a little bit after the NEK EF, the enterprise facilitation, where you've got a group of business professionals that are there to really just support people that are trying to grow their businesses. So the last thing for the local marketing tactics, I'll just throw this up there. These would be the top 10. And even though some of those things on there aren't digital, I do find that they are still effective in some of our rural small town communities. Number 1 and number 2 is Facebook. Everybody's on Facebook, and it's the most effective tool that you can have. The amount of targeting you can do, it's just, I can't even go into it, but it's very, very effective. Google search would probably be number 3, being found both as a community and the things in your community. And then email is huge. People, especially in rural and small town communities, they want to know what's going on. They want to know the gossip. So if you can get an email list going where you give them a little bit of gossip, a little bit of what's going on, they really, really like that, and it works well. And of course, that really helps with relationship building as well. And then the video is big. Direct mail is actually still does work. Actually, maybe it's picked up a little bit because people stopped doing it a lot. So now when you get something cool in the mail, you might kind of look at it a little bit more. Twitter is really big for the ag industry. The newspaper actually keeps a lot of our small towns still connected, so you can't disregard that. But the frustrating thing with that is a lot of times you have to pay for the digital version of it. And then mobile apps and radios are still a big thing. So that is all of my information, and I'm sure it's a lot of it. And I don't know if there's any questions anybody has. You're welcome to email me or catch me on LinkedIn, but you want to unmute, Nancy? Or
there we go. Yeah, thank you so much, Elizabeth. That was a lot of information. We do have we have several people online that want to add their expertise to this, but I do want to give a few minutes for questions. I will. If you want to share, please unmute yourself and share. And if I can figure out how, I'll unmute you all.
Elizabeth?
yes, is that David?
No, that's Ron Wilson.
Okay.
With Nancy. Early in your presentation, you said something about it's not people from here, but you're attracting, communities are attracting anybody interested in that hometown community experience. And maybe that's the most surprising thing I've heard this morning. And I certainly work with a number of rural businesses who say, you know, we can go to university and try to recruit the whiz kid from New York, but we have much better luck with the kid who grew up in small town Kansas and is familiar with that kind of lifestyle, or even from that community, and will come back. And
Yes.
Because of that tie. So tell us more about, you know, attracting just anybody without necessarily a tie to a rural Kansas, for example.
Right. So that, I think it was the University of Minnesota that had the most information on that. It was Minnesota or Nebraska, I can't remember which one. But yes, they're finding that they're actually going and looking for those communities. They're not moving back to it. They're looking for those type of communities and choosing them based on these certain drivers. And they're looking for hometown style. And yes, you're always probably going to be more, if you have a draw that's already there and people have connections, that's always going to be stronger, but we shouldn't just limit ourselves to that. I'm thinking, okay, we're just going to have the same people having babies and then trying to track them back. We can actually bring new people in, is that idea.
Hey.
Well, and I think part of that audience that you talked about, I had recently listened to the gentleman from Nebraska who talks about brain gain, and he says about 30% of the brain gain people go back to communities that they weren't part of, and they generally choose them based on what they see on the internet. I did a first impressions in a community where one of the volunteers was exactly that person who needed to work in Kansas City, but he chose Lewisburg because of the good schools, and he figured that out online.
Yep.
So,
I know.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I know a professional couple that one works in St. Joe, one works in Topeka, and Atchison's a Midway Point that has that feel that they wanted. So it's a great location for them.
Right. John Gedrin, are you on? JP, are you on with us? I've unmuted you. Or at least I've unmuted a phone caller that I thought might be you. Okay, Janelle Dobbins from the land of Kansas, are you there?
My name is Lexi Wright. I'm here today on behalf of Janelle.
Great.
I'm actually really new to the Kansas Department of Ag, just started 2 weeks ago, but I have her update for you guys. She just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of some resources that are on From the Land of Kansas website, and you can find those at fromthelandofkansas.com, everything spelled out. First, we are the central registration point for farmers markets. So we encourage all farmers markets to go online with us and register their market so that people can find them easily and visitors to their town can see them. We also have a couple of different PDF files. Some of them are from Research and Extension. We have a sampling safely and a food safety for farmers market vendors, and then an incubator kitchen resources. And those are each just kind of 1 to 2 page guides about quick references that they can utilize. We also have Savor the Season cards. And what those are 40 different recipe cards that feature specialty crops, and they have recipes on the back side of them that show people how to utilize some of those crops, especially for those who maybe don't use those to cook all the time. But we have lots of those, so if anyone is in need of those cards or would like to have some to distribute, we can get those to you. Just let us know. But you can find all of these resources on the From the Land of Kansas website under resources. And then the last thing I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of is our toolkit for farmers markets. It's under templates on our website, and it actually contains signs and different kind of 1-page flyers and that kind of thing for farmers markets that you can edit yourself. Just because we know that a lot of farmers markets are all volunteer run. So hopefully to make it a little easier for them to help get the word out and make sure their market's visible in their community. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, I know I went through that kind of fast. Like I said, I'm really new to the job, so I don't know if I can answer questions, but if you have any, I'm happy to take them.
Really appreciate you being here, Lexi. We were talking at an event this week, and I think Land of Kansas is something we need to have on a future call.
Great. Yeah, we'd be happy to join.
Great. What other questions are there? JP, are you with us? So agents who are on the phone today, we don't have as many people here as I'd like to have, but can you tell me what you heard today and how you'll use it, if you're willing to share? And I'll try to unmute you. For me, I loved hearing about the three things that, well, the one that will stick out is the fact that they just simply want that hometown experience. You called it the European experience, where you can go every place that you want to on a bicycle or by walking. I liked that.
Nancy and Elizabeth, this is Marlon Bates in Douglas County. So I just wanted to say thanks for the presentation today. I have recently just engaged in our e-community group, which is focused on the business development, small business development in the rural part, as well as the smaller municipalities in Douglas County, so outside of Lawrence. And I think there's an interesting amount of work that we've got in front of us to sort of highlight agriculture and our heritage. We have some local conversations here about pursuing an agricultural heritage district in hopes of doing what we can to accelerate economic growth, not just of small businesses, the way they've sort of been framed in the past, but also ensuring that we count farms of any kind, but particularly those that are engaged in agritourism as a piece of that larger picture as well.
Great.
I guess if I had a question, it would be, you know, how a sort of community-wide effort like that could become something that sort of systemically becomes ingrained in the culture of a community, and if there are any tips that anybody might have as it relates to finding some success at that scale.
I know Teresa just did a thing with David Key on agritourism 2 days ago. They had a meeting on that. You're probably there, Nancy. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it was very effective, Marlon. I thought it was very effective. There were about 20 people, 20 or more people there to hear how to promote and move their agritourism business forward. Did you want to say anything about that, Teresa? Oh, I can't hear you, and I don't see it's not mute on this side. Sorry. Well, they had systematically invited resources to be there, and basically did a presentation from Sue Stringer at the Kansas about agritourism and registering your agritourism event, and we'll have Sue on a next call too, because that was a great resource for all of us. Great. Okay, well, our call next month is on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, and Cindy Evans will be our guest speaker, and she has recently done 2 different gatherings to support small businesses, and she'll tell the why and the how. We start with why, the why and the how to support small businesses in workshops, either for those who are already existing or for those who are thinking about starting. And thank you so much for joining us, and I'll get the recording out to you after the call. Hope you'll have a great day.